Have you ever heard wind chimes create music in the breeze? Of course you have. Have you ever seen toy planes or birds suspended over a crib lull a baby into sleep? They've got something in common. They move. They're kinetic. They're mobile. They are mobiles. And a mobile is always suspended. It's balanced with weight distributed to allow for movement in the breeze as a result of being touched or even by motors. So here's what you need to make a simple seashell mobile, which has the benefit of sounding light and lovely in a pretty good breeze. First, you need some shells, and I collected these recently, and all of them have a hole naturally drilled into them by ocean predators. If your shells don't have holes, you're going to need to do a little drilling here. You're also going to need beads, plenty of them from which to choose. I went for natural beads and added a few baked clay beads as well. You'll need a heavy gauge wire for hanging. I used 24 gauge mostly, and you'll need an even lighter gauge bead wire for stringing your shells and beads. Finally, you'll need some simple wooden sticks of assorted sizes and a drill. My sticks varied from 6 to 12 inches, thin to thicker. Each stick needs to have 3 holes drilled into it, one in the center and one near each end. Now you could paint your shells, but why mess with Mother Nature? So instead of paint, I put a coat of clear varnish on the shells as well as the wooden dowels. So that was the first step. Next, you want to separate your shells into different sizes. This makes it actually really easy to group your shells into 2 piles. Let's call them Pile A and Pile B for the moment. Each pile will represent half of the weight of your mobile. From there, you can divide each of these 2 piles into smaller piles, which represent the subsections of each half of your mobile. And you'll get a better sense of this when we hang our shells. For now, however, remember, you want to have a fairly weighted balance, and a scale will really help if you've got one, but it still won't be perfect. And that's because we'll be adding beads, and they have their own weight. Don't let that throw you, though. In fact, remember that you'll always be able to add extra beads to add needed balance as you're hanging your strings of shells. So now it's time to start stringing the shells from the pile A, which represents half the weight of your shells. Now split pile A in half now, so that you're going to make 2 strings of shells about the same length. My own strings from this pile were each about 2 feet long. So you want to take a length of your light bead wire or cord. You want to tie a knot at the very end, drop on 1 or 2 heavy beads to anchor it, slip on the first shell you'd like at the bottom, and I'd recommend the heaviest one in your pile, and add 1 more bead. Now move up the string an inch or 2, make a fresh knot, add a bead, add a shell, add another bead, and now just keep on going right up the string. Once you've strung both lengths from this pile, we get to hang them. So grab a few big old beads and your heavy gauge wire and wrap that wire in and around those beads several times and double back the end of your wire through the beads hole so that both parts of the wire are extending through the same hole in the same direction. Choose one of your middle-sized sticks for pile A's strings and pull this wire through the center hole so that those beads are below the stick. Add a bead or 2 above the stick and allow for several inches of wire at the top. It's what'll get attached to the mobile's main dowel at the end. Next, simply secure each string of shells to each end of that stick, and you have just made the first half of your mobile. There's no reason that you can't duplicate this process for the other half of your mobile, but I wanted to explore different lengths of string with extra layers of shells. It also helps to hang the work as you go on a nail on the wall, and as you can see, that's what helped me see that with my pile B shells, things did not balance all that well when I put a second side's levels together, but that's where extra beads come in. Add a string and balance is mostly restored. The last step was to hang each side on the central primary dowel. No surprise, heavy wire and beads have created a way to hang the mobile, and after stringing it on the wall and seeing relative equilibrium, I decided to take it outside for a spin. So no, it's not perfectly balanced, but I'm quite partial to its imbalance. It moves easily and freely, which after all is the point of the mobile. So the whole project took me the better part of an afternoon, but it cost me virtually nothing. And if you've got a ton of shells around the house, and if you, like me, would never think of using them to decorate a lamp, give this a go.